do agree this is a manipulated price. Even when we talk about the hodlman yesterday, it's just a group of other financial YouTubers. They weren't quite sure. So where are the most, let's go from most valid, like definitely happening in your opinion, to possibly happening. We already mentioned spoofing, latering. We've talked about short attacks, short ladder attacks. How would you rate these on most likely, definitely happening, to more speculative, possibly happening?
Yeah, so let's go to the 350 cliff that we saw a few weeks back. So to start off, the first thing is short attacks. So that's real. That's how. So when you have like a market, right? When you make a market as a market maker, your job is to buy and sell as much stock as possible. And you do it through a spread, right? And spread is just your bid ask, right? It's the difference between your bid ask. So a bid is how much you're willing to buy the stock for. The ask is how much you're willing to sell for. And you make a profit as a market maker by first being able to read the direction of the stock so you can make your market based on that. And second, having a spread so you can make a profit off of every transaction. And it's kind of like a scalp. You're just scalping all the time. You're loading up on the buy side. You're loading up on the sell side, or dumping on the sell side. But when you have a short attack, what you basically do, and this is the SSR rule kind of in practice, is without SSR, you're able to, when you short, you can you have the option of hitting the bid. And that lets you sell the quickest. So when you hit the bid, what it does is it clears that bid, right? And then you have the next bid. So by clearing levels of bid, let's say you have like 149, 148.5, and then you have like all these layers of bid. A short attack is where you annihilate each layer of bid by hitting it. And again, hitting the bid is the fastest way to sell. So like if you're let's say you're like a trader, right, and you're trying to do some kind of quick scalp, if you can't get out of your position quick enough, you might take a loss and just hit the bid. And some platforms, they let you do hitting the bid and hitting the ask. So what happens is that happens, right? And when you drop 10% from the previous day's close, the SSR rule is in place, and that you're not allowed to hit the bid on a downtick. You have to hit it on an uptick.
Quick question on that. People were asking and verified yesterday that in after hours and pre-market, the SSR rule does not apply. So, for example, yes. GME, is it on the SSR rule for the rest of the day because of what happened during pre-market or after hours? Or perhaps because since it dropped so much during market hours, is it on the SSR rule now?
Yeah, so I think it was around here, around market open, it automatically triggered because the threshold was 163 something. So yeah, it triggers during the day, I think, during market open.
But if it recovered before market opened, as in the pre-market, if it dipped 10% in the after hours and then fixed itself, then it wouldn't be on the SSR.
Are you saying if it let's say it dipped after hours and then it went back up or something?
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think it would be SSR. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's something I'm not 100% sure about.
Sure. Just wanted to put that out there. Nuance in there. Sorry to cut you off. Continue.
Yeah. So this basically means that for the remainder of the day we'll be on SSR. So you can't do the hitting. You can't hit the bid when you're shorting. And it'll also be in effect for the full day on the following day. As soon as you trigger SSR, it's the current day and the next day.
Okay.
So what this means is that you could still short on a downtick. And technically you do that by selling stock. And you could do that with a put and a call. Put and call. You long a put, and then you short a call, and you make a profit based on the difference, between these two, and then by exercising your puts, you're able to sell on a downtick basically. So you can still short on a downtick.
And this is called a conversion.
Yeah, it's called a conversion. you can't do it all the time. It's arbitrage. You have to do it at the right market conditions, and they have very complicated like setups. You can only do it at certain moments, which is why you don't like see the price crashing every single day.
And
you have to do it at a specific time.
And this is risky, right? Because how could it backfire?
The problem with arbitrage is it's not exactly always risk-free. It's risk-free given this given circumstances. Like for example, if you think that the market right now is weak, right, in terms of buy pressure, if the buy pressure is weak, and you want to perform some arbitrage, then you tank it, right? You tank it with conversions. You can short with the conversions. You tank it, but if you have a opponent who starts buying in and then makes all your puts OTM, then that kills your conversions, because now you just bought a bunch of premiums for puts that are going to be worthless.
Right.
So you need to time it at a spot where the momentum is enough such that you can't have any opponents that will ruin your ability to profit. And again, like arbitrage is not always risk-free. They say it's risk-free, but it's not always. There's always things you got to watch out for.
How to be a supervillain 101. Take it from WardenElite. Can I ask about the risk of short ladder attacks or short attacks in general?
Yeah, so short attacks. What do you mean by risk of short attacks?
So like we said, we wanted to be able to show you guys the kind of tricks, the manipulation tactics that the hedge funds are trying to use. But at the same time, they have a triage of like, oh, I'm going to use a short attack when this situation. And when I use a conversion, I'm expecting that the price should go down so I can capitalize on the fact that maybe the stock is on the SSR list and I can't short it right now. So are there any risks, downsides for the hedge funds when they try to short attack the stock?
I think it all depends on if they actually have a way to avoid FTDs altogether and just pay a fine or something. Because I think what's happening right now is they're just naked shorting. I'll call it an end short. And when they naked short, like the problem is sometimes they're shorting it with like shares that don't exist, and then they'll have to cover it or something, and then people will be buying these shares that don't exist, right, when they short. So that creates FTDs. And so we've seen recently there's some pretty crazy number of FTDs. And to resolve those FTDs, how does that work? People are saying, okay, there's a 21-day time period where you have to prepare, and then you have to deliver the FTDs on the 21st day. But I don't think that's the case, because there's some rules there's some fine print where you can reset it effectively. And I haven't done too much research. I'm going to do research on this, on how long can they keep resetting these FTDs, because these are obligations for them to buy real stock for people holding counterfeit shares. That's part of the obligations. So by short attack, they're incurring a risk of increasing FTDs, basically.
Okay, perfect. All right, and onwards we go. I'm not sure if you're listing this in terms of most likely happening to least likely happening, but we'll cover that at the end.
I think, so in terms of like short tactics, whatever, I think that the typical short attack is the most likely, and then conversions are least likely because you have to have very specific conditions.